0-3 on this map this stage, but when you take a look at those matches, it makes a lot of sense. Those 3 losses were a 7-5 game against Furia, an 8-7 game against FaZe, and then an 8-7 game against Los. So even though they technically have a losing record on this map, they are extremely strong playing on Bank. W7M, this is a very common map for them as well. There will be a lot of footage on this map for W7M. They played it 6 times this stage, including a 7-4 win over Liquid just yesterday. And just to touch on the operator bans quickly, Parker, it is very standard. We don't remove the ace, interestingly enough. The Habana will go, as will the Ying, which is going to make those basement attacks really tricky.
We saw Bank twice yesterday. Did we not? In the low snip game and then the W7M Team Liquid game?
I think it was just once, but it was just a crazy long game. So it felt like 2. No, we saw it twice. No, you're right. I'm wrong.
Thank you. I didn't exactly have the best immediate memory of those matches. Like I said, at one point, it felt like I didn't remember my life before those games. But Tachanka was an operator that saw quite a large amount of play. That was in part because of the operator bans. You know, if you're taking out a Smoke, if you're taking out a Tuberal, if you're taking out an Echo or a Maestro or any of those operators, you don't really have a lot of anchor ops that can keep the attackers at bay. This bottom floor bomb site has something that we often refer to as a particular rhythm. If you are going for a server take, which is usually where teams go, where they'll open up one of the panels or go through the main door and try to plant, what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to wait out an abundance of utility. You're almost always going to have Goyo canisters to deal with. Each of those canisters, if they're not popped before the execute, that's going to be 20 seconds that you have to wait for those flames to go. You're going to have nitro cells lined up, usually from somebody playing inside of red. Nip only has a single nitro cell this time, so they're going to be banking an awful lot on those gas canisters in the hands of Pino. The Goyo canisters being put down early that will almost certainly be countered by this person right here. That's Loban on that Twitch drone. And then the Tachanka. Tachanka and Smoke both have active utility, so they have to stay alive until the execute comes out, or they die with all of those gadgets and that stall potential in their pocket.
Should be a slow start to this. We don't expect to see much fighting on the roam. NIP will fall off, and it'll be another minute and a half probably before W7M get the hatches open to start their execute. These two teams have battled a lot over the last couple of years, and in the last 7 meetings that they have come across one another, W7M have won 6 of them. They have by far been a better team when these two teams have come to blows. Those stats go all the way back to when this team was known as Los, including all the way back at the Atlanta Major. So we've got quite a bit of history between these squads, and it's always kind of been a mountain that NIP have been unable to climb. This would be their real big opportunity to flip that narrative, right? Move things over so that you can start to build back as a team, as this giant that NIP once was. Eliminating them from the playoffs would be a big start to that. Already these Goyos have been popped. 2 of them were actually placed on the top floor hatches. That wastes even more time with the Habana ban. Makes it so you have to blow those up before you can pop things off. That'll explain why they banned that operator. But it doesn't seem to have slowed down W7M too much, Parker. They've got everything open with over a minute still on the clock. This is a really well-paced attack so far.
Not too bad from a team that should have some confidence here. 0-3 and you chose this map. I mean, talk about adversity and overcoming that with the final minute now underway. All of the teams that you will see in action today and have seen in action today have made the Munich Major. That is the primary goal for most of the squads that started here in this region. At this point, your focus will turn towards the major event that'll be occurring in just a couple weeks' time, but you probably want to win your own region. As I said, it's very proud, and these teams do put a lot of effort into ensuring they make it to the grand finals. There'll be trades galore now. As 20 seconds remain, 8 players still up. There goes the Shield of Dots. He had aggressed through Garage. Paulu was in a similar position. Loban is there now. Picked apart is Hates, and
whoa,
I suspect W7M crashed.
Yeah.
That's not good. So, don't really know what's going to happen there with 10 seconds left. All of W7M suddenly dropped off the face of the earth.
That's a tough one too, because that was almost certainly going to be an NIP round win. I mean, there was clutch potential for sure for W7M. It was not over. It was a 4v2. but 4v2, 15 seconds, it wasn't looking promising for the attack. So we'll leave that one up to the admins on whether that gets called a round win for NIP or whether it gets called a replay. We do not have the power to make that decision, Parker, but not the way you'd like your lower bracket run to start here on the second last play day of the South American League, that's for sure.
Waiting for an update here, but we haven't heard anything. We haven't received anything yet. Yeah, I'll leave it to the admins here.
It was honestly like a really good start to that round, I thought, from W7M. Their pacing was really nice. They cleared out the top couple of floors without any real problems. Had the hatches opened up nice and easy. They dealt with the Goyos, they dealt with the Tuberal, but it was a really nice move from Hates. He wins that duel on the main stairs where he's able to take down Palu. That really opens the door for him to then push up into open area to get into the admin hatch. He got a second kill right before the crash happened, clearing out Dodez. Was a really good move from him. And I think that position that he had, being the only player in the entire server not in the basement, being able to play the hatch for the defenders, was quite a strong position. It would have been shocking to see him lose the round from there because he can deny all the plants. Loba's in the garage. So a lot of credit has to go to Hates on the individual move that he made in that round. Set up NIP extremely well for the last 15 seconds.
We're on the playoff screen for you right now because I imagine all the player cams are down too. If they really did lose power in the W7M house, that is something that could potentially explain why there is a bit of a delay. Furia making the grand final earlier. If you just watched the matchup that concluded maybe 20-30 minutes ago, you would see that one of the best teams in the world has made it back into the grand finals. And fear not, if you happen to be a FaZe Clan enthusiast, they still have an opportunity for a rematch. They're in the lower bracket finals, as you can see on your screen. They'll play the winner of the match you're currently witnessing. And I don't know if this has been announced on the broadcast because I didn't hear it, but we have been told that there will be a break between this matchup and the lower bracket finals so that whichever team prevails isn't immediately going into a lower bracket final without any rest. It's a bit different than other regions. Again, Brazil does have its own thing going on, but in other regions, especially when you and I casted NA, I think there was only like a 20 or 30 minute break between those matches. It stands to reason that if you play a game, maybe some time to calm down and prepare yourself is ideal. So no matter which team wins, NIP or W7M, they will have, I think it's about an hour before they have to go and do battle against FaZe Clan. We got word that we're just waiting on the players to join the lobby, so fingers crossed that everything is going well. But the players that have not joined the lobby are W7M. So that was the team that disconnected, given that they disconnected all at once. The assumption will be that, yeah, something went wrong. They lost their internet, they lost their power, somewhere along those lines. Because we don't have an ETA, and because you probably don't want to just hear us over a playoff screen, we got a break ready for you. We'll be back when everything is sorted out with these two teams.
You know how they say, it's not the destination, it's the journey?
And the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And you know what?
They're right.
Eye out for contact.
Available now.
know how they say it's not the destination, it's the journey?
And the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And you know what?
They're right.
Keep an eye out for contact.
Available now. Yes!
You know how they say it's not the destination, it's the journey?
And the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And you know what?
They're right.
Keep an eye out for contact.
Available now.
All right. Well, after an untimely disconnection on the side of W7M, where, again, either their power went out or their internet went out, not really sure what the culprit is here, and I'm no, I don't know, I'm no handyman, so I'm not really able to diagnose it. But, Jesse, you talked about Nip was going to win that round based on the way it was going. The admins agreed with you, and Despite all of W7M vacating the lobby, Nip still walks away with that first round victory. Is there anything you saw that you want to talk about before we get into round number 2?
I mean, nothing that hasn't already been touched on, Parker. Again, I think Hate's no doubt the MVP. His stats won't be reflected to the rest of this game, but just know he got a very critical 2K on that first round. Absolutely put the ball in NIP's court, and I think no real chance of victory for W7M in that round when the disconnects happen. So I agree, with the admins. I think it was the right call to award it to NIP. Now it's just about bouncing back for W7M, right? I mean, that's a bit of a shocker mentally because, you know, you were still in a 2v4. Maybe there's a world where you clutch that up, and even still, you start to play and then you immediately go cold, having to wait and solve these tech issues for so much time. So it's really going to be important to see them bounce back in this round, Parker. I want to see them come alive. I want to see them getting into this bomb site quite quickly. Looks like it might be a CEO window execute just based on the operators that we've got coming out right now. So expect a little bit of gunplay happening from out on Rappel.
Raised some concerns about why Ninjas in Pyjamas was coming to this map. And I mean, well, they already showed a good start in round number 1. Things were a little peculiar, I suppose. Here and now, though, 1 minute into action. And I mean, you can hear that glass firing away. Just having a glass on the board, Jesse, completely changes things for the defenders and gives them a bit more pause as to how aggressively they want to fight these entry players for W7M.
Absolutely, but at the same time, I think the Clash is a great counter. You know, it allows you to swing out, get information for your team without fear of being destroyed by the glass just blowing your head off. You see Wizard doing great work with this operator so far. Not going to completely stop W7M, of course. They will start to open up the square wall now. Dots gets that open without too many issues. I believe it just got frozen by the tuber out, perhaps, if I heard that correctly. So it might be stalled a minute. Whether it opened up or not, that should get opened eventually through the round. And that'll likely be where we see the plants come through about halfway through. Khan's a nice little drop. Going to be playing for that late round C4 to try to deny that plants. His team's done a great job so far of stalling this out with not letting W7M work any of those early picks. Usually you'd see them trying to work lobby repel or maybe push somewhere to find an entry, but we haven't seen it just yet.
There's the very first pick of the round. It's going to come on to Palu. On repel, shot out by Fantasy. In main lobby, and Dots will die shortly thereafter. Ninjas in Pyjamas right now in excellent position to put this into a 2-0. But hold on a second. Wizard on that clash shield gets punished from the back. Loban now also has control of the main stairs. And up Fantasy will creep and slaughter Loban. No chance whatsoever for W7M there. You've got the Yokais spread out through the bomb site, and they're doing some serious work on the W7M, but Dodez will keep numbers close. Down goes Pino. Dodez just keeps getting shocked by this clash shield, and I don't... what is the play here, Dodez? I don't really understand what he was trying to do. Volps walks in. Ains is a triple kill. Khans gets the final frag, and Nip is out to a 2-0 lead.
And all the credit in the world to both Fantasy and Khans, both choosing to rotate down to the bottom floor halfway through that round, and I think it made all the difference, Parker. I initially thought it was just going to be Khans going down, set up a nitro cell, maybe stick around, maybe fall off, but he gets droned quite early down below the bomb site, and then he makes the decision to ask for someone else to make the rotate. Knowing that everybody will be distracted with Khans, Fantasy makes that move, and he gets the guys out on rappel from that lobby position. That two-brow DMR is so damn good to get those long-angle gunfights. So really nice coordination coming out from the two of them. Each walks away with a couple of kills. Fantasy with the 3K. Khans gets one for his troubles, and Hates continues to add to his total overall in the matchup. So really nice start coming through from NIP. Definitely feels like they're the ones controlling a lot of pace so far. W7M are quite slow to set up for their executes. They're trying to get set up for the way that they want to go, but both times it feels like somebody on NIP has made a move and has really disrupted that setup before they could go for the push.
Completely blowing up the lineup on the side of W7M now, as we'll have those operators locked in. Far more nuisance heavy than what we saw, though losing the glass, I suppose, does change things for W7M. I don't know how much impact Volps had in that previous round on the glass, so instead he'll go on to one of the traditional hard breachers. Ibana is banned out, so if you want any type of hatch play, you're gonna look at an ace. I mean, Maverick does work in a pinch, but you're going to get, what, 2 hatches open? If you're good with Maverick, which, I mean, is not exactly a given this day and age. We've seen some teams really struggle to open up those hatches, Jesse. So instead, you'll have Ace do it.
This is just not really a bomb site where you need a lot of hatches. The stock hatch will certainly be reinforced, but the janitor hatch is often left open for a rotate. Elevator hatch, sometimes soft, sometimes open. The Ace gives you a lot of flexibility because you can move to the square wall as well, right? So you can use both Selmas on the stock hatch if you need. You can go square if you want instead. You're doing neither at the moment. It's going to be a clear of the players here in Tellers. Pino running back to his clash, and when the shoe shields meet, it will be the defender who has the advantage, but Dots with a big swing almost gets away with some damage. Not quite a kill right until there when Fantasy takes down Volps.
And they trade right back. Wizard is also gone. He was on the Clash before, now playing on the Warden. I suppose Warden's not an integral piece of this defense given the lineup that's brought in. W7M will lose Loban at the hands of Pino. And into a 3v3 we will go with just a tiny bit of half the round to go. Early action does tend to break out when teams defend this open area bomb site because of how quickly you can get to the defenders and to the bomb site. Frankly, you can just barrel your way through that paper window. You can rush in through electrical, open up a single soft panel, and you are suddenly in break room. It's really incumbent upon the defenders at that point, Jesse, to knock you off stride. I don't think that's been quite as successful for Nip this time around, and now they've lost the numbers advantage at the hands of Dodez.
Yeah, that is a critical kill. Finding the smoke right before you actually go for the execute. Pino on a sliver of HP too. They kind of need Hates to go big, be that distraction to allow Pino to make these frags, because if anybody sneezes on Pino, he'll be going down, and that could be the sneeze, but just missed it. Gives them a chance now as the smoke comes through, and they'll be going to plant cafeteria.
Now go the bees. Hates being watched. Nitro Cell lobbed out by Pino does a little bit of damage to Dots, and W7M will just pulverize the last 2 Nip defenders sitting in the site one by one. W7M finally on the board. The action came swift and it came early. This is a very tricky bomb site to defend when you are at a disadvantage. And we just saw how Nip had to handle a W7M team that doubled up on them on the entry.
Cons was still top floor, actually, for the vast majority of that round. He died dropping the janitor hatch into admin, which is a little surprising, just that he held on to the top floor for so long. Had a Toxic Babe still in his pocket, too. He used his second Toxic Babe to try to cut off the angle, to try to make it a little bit more likely that he would survive the drop through the hatch. But I don't know, Parker. It just felt really risky to drop there when you know that the attackers have control of Tellers. They're inside of archives. They could be watching for that play. Cons, if he'd maybe gone for, I mean, there's no other real easy way to rotate either, I guess. I mean, the main stairs is where you've lost a lot of bodies already. The stock hatch surely was reinforced, so you can't really rotate back that way as your defender. But between a rock and a hard place, I suppose Cons didn't have any great options, but credit in the world to W7M for watching for that, making sure that they were ready for it when it came through. Gave themselves that man advantage 3v2 for the execute, and gets them on the board, thankfully, because if you lose the full site rotation on Bank, you're starting to get a little bit scared for the rest of this map.
Yeah, absolutely correct. This bottom floor bomb site has been a fortress for teams throughout this playoff stage, and I mean, Nip started off quite strong. Admittedly, the disconnect did not allow us to see a full completion of the round. Crazier things have happened. We did watch Los versus Nip yesterday, and boy, oh boy, Jesse, there was a lot of crazy stuff. Wizard winning a 1v3 that he had no business winning. Anything is possible, right? Goal now,
For sure.
Have W7M keep power and not drop out of the lobby altogether.
Teams in South America love to play aggressive in open area. Fantasy, no different. He's taking these gunfights, but he's on very low HP. He's done no damage in return, so distracted, but he's got teammates. Wizard comes back and clears up Dodez, leaving Dots all alone on the fuse shield. He really needs some teammates to rotate back to him, but every defender is seemingly looking his way. He doesn't care, Parker. Blasts a player on the enemy team, but still, it does feel like that was a lot of time wasted by Nip.
Placing cluster charge. Detonating cluster charge.
Don't want to be too critical of this fuse shield. I tend to get stuck in a spiral, Jesse, where I just... oh boy. There's 1 cluster charge that was deployed, 3 still remaining. Action very swift yet again. We just passed 2 minutes left in the round. That is crazy that 3 would die. I highlighted how important Tachanka can be. I mean, I suppose you still have the Goyo, and I suppose you still have those 3 gas canisters, but Nip will definitely be a bit weakened when the execute comes in due to the loss of both the Tubarão and the Tachanka.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very common position to put your Tachanka in the elevator with the intention of shooting some drones, falling off, then playing the site with those fire grenades. But Palu got a really early kill onto Cons, didn't let him escape through the hatch. A bit of a misplay from the captain of NIP, and I think it sets up w7m with the advantage.
There goes the gas, there goes smoke, answered back, and oh my goodness, Pino, what were you expecting over there? A bit of sloppiness. Dots will also drop over in Vault, and running on up, that could have been a relatively easy kill for Hates, but he just misses the legs, and frankly, he's missing most of it. He walks right into Loban's waiting arms, and Dots will swiftly remove the last member of NIP from the server. Things go a little bit better this time around for w7m, and they've tied the game.
I really like the positioning from Volps in that round, man. He's playing on the glass. He's playing just at the bottom of square, kind of facing off against Pino. But the biggest thing is that he's been very quiet that whole round up until he engages with the smoke. His team are busy pushing the site. You know, they're dropping the elevator hatch. They're dropping the gold hatch. They're hitting the back side of things. And that kind of makes Pino think, okay, this is clearly a back hit. I'm wasting my time here on server stairs. I got to get back to the site. That's the exact moment when Volps was able to swing the hatch, get that free pick onto the smoke player. Really nicely played coming out from w7m in that round. Again, maybe a little bit sloppy to start things off. The clear of Fantasy and open area was a bit of a disaster, but Palu really struck fast onto Cons, getting the early man advantage on the Tachanka, and then I think Volps really did put the final nail in the coffin, finding the smoke late into the round as well. So nice little bounce back from w7m. Winning the bottom floor on Banked as an attack can be a huge momentum shift for your team.
These teams are so evenly matched by what we've seen here in this map, but
Attackers are heading out to defuse a bomb.
it's NIP's map. They are starting on what should be the worst side. Bank goes back and forth. So I don't really think there's much to be gained by speculating, oh, do you win more on attack? Do you win more as defenders? No, I think these teams have a way of playing it, and they match up very well stylistically. w7m obviously thinking that attack is easier on Bank. I know that they're in good company with that one, as many teams seem to think the same, and the numbers can often back it up. But in this current point in time, it's really a 50-50, and I mean, goodness gracious, Cons slaughtering 2 players from w7m in very quick order. There goes the Yokai to knock Palu out. He's finished off by Hates. Nip right now with a full court press, and with 2 minutes and 15 seconds left on the clock, Jesse, w7m just has 2 players remaining.
Yeah, this is a GG go next, Parker. I fear there's no shot for Volps and Loban. We'll see what they can do with it. Position's not bad, actually, with the Volps inside server, but Diffuse Kit was dropped towards those main stairs. The glass goes down. Loban gets 1 for his trouble, but I think the damage has already been done. There's kind of 2 ways to react to how they lost the last round, right? Cons can play more passive and not die on the hatch with Tachanka, or instead, you can do what Cons ended up doing and just play hyper-aggressive here on the main stairs. He played that so damn well to get that 2K entry. Now Loban fighting for his life under every bit of utility. Finally down to Pino.
GG go next, you say? Damn, spot on. Nip answers back. You said how much that bottom floor can be a momentum shifter. And it didn't really seem to have an immediate impact. Maybe it gave w7m a bit more confidence, maybe a bit more moxie. I'm not entirely sure, but it was a very quick entry to the building. And what is it? It's that one video where it's the guy jumps in the window and then immediately gets thrown right out. That's basically what happened to w7m. I think a 3-3 scoreline right here for w7m is about as good as you could have hoped for before even a single round was played, and I do like those odds for w7m when they switch sides. Now, again, because Nip chose this map, Jesse, the theory is that w7m choosing attack understand that Nip is either A, weaker on defense, because w7m would be stronger on it, or they fear Nip getting to attack.
Yeah.
Do we know how that will unfold? No, of course we don't. That's part of the magic of this esport. So final stead at this point in time for Nip to defend, try to take this first half 4-2. w7m, their only opportunity is to tie things up.
Attackers must locate and
Yeah, I would say this is a critical round where they need to tie things up because their defense on Bank has not been very good this stage. 24 rounds on defense played so far, 38% win rate. So really have struggled on the defensive side. Their basement holds have been pretty good, but every other bomb site they've really struggled to hold on to. So we'll see if that continues now against NIP in the second half, but that makes this round all the more important. The initial gunfight between Fantasy and Lobin, with Lobin doing his best to swing out and find some kind of an angle. This is so dangerous for both teams, but especially for Fantasy. This is such a gross gunfight. Eventually, Lobin gives up on it. He's done more damage, so I guess you can say he walks away with the win.
I do like how Nip is so aggressive on these defenses, Jesse. I've been really enjoying how they are bringing the heat to a w7m team that up against Team Liquid yesterday had no shortage of firepower. Palu and Volps both having excellent games. Dodez and Dots providing tons of support fire. Lobin doing the same across a couple different bomb sites. Everybody in w7m was really hitting their shots. Nip are a team that excel when it comes to gunplay, but they often live and die off of hates and Fantasy. If one of these players has a rough game, Fantasy in particular, the likelihood of Nip winning goes down dramatically.
Yeah, we saw some great games. The final map yesterday for Fantasy was insane, but the first two maps were not so hot for him. So we know how hot and cold he can be as a player sometimes. Doing your best if you're w7m to try to fish for a pick from these windows. We're back to the top floor. The Clash ban was specifically for this bomb site, so it's forced Wizard off of the operator, and he's gone for the Denari instead. That's a really nice nade actually tossed out by Palu in Fantasy. He just can't escape it in time. Too afraid of getting caught from the angles, but he ends up just dying to the nade, partly because he was so low HP from the damage Lobin did earlier.
Yeah, I mean, your only real option there was try to tough out the nade or get up and almost certainly get picked apart by one of the attackers. I think he was hoping that the grenade indicator was not fully accurate, which, believe you me, happens from time to time. w7m, after flushing out that one player of Fantasy, now attempting to get the defuse kit down. Yokai's going off, gas canisters thrown out as well, yet w7m are still fragging. Nip getting caught in a hail of bullets, but things might be real bad here as Wizard takes out two from his position. That's also the case that's been dropped. w7m will need to go for frags if they cannot get this case back up off the ground. Wizard's gun barrel was sticking out. He gets yet another. He is unshaken from this spot. w7m just crumble. All right, well, they get dropped in short order. Nip wins a bit of a head scratcher.
That's an insane round from Wizard Parker. 4K from the janitor position, playing it so perfectly. And I really thought that w7m had a good read on what was happening in that round. In the 3v2, yes, you lose your player with the defuse kit. You lose Paulu, who's been popping off. That's not great, but it's still recoverable because they had a great pinch onto Wizard. He was playing janitor. Volps on the glass was shooting towards janitor. He was just shooting the reinforcements, but that was to try to cover the sound of Lobin creeping up from behind on square. Wizard read into that play. He flicks around, he kills Lobin, then he swings the breach and also kills the glass on rappel. That's a nutty round coming out from Wizard, who again was playing on the Clash the last time we saw that bomb site. They banned it out, and I think they're going to be wishing they hadn't banned the Clash because he is so much more deadly with a gun in his hands. Really nice play coming through. It gives them that lead now, 4-2 heading into the second half, and we'll see the bans go right back in with Clash being removed immediately this time, not after the 3-round split, and a smoke being removed for the defenders, which is going to make this bottom floor bomb site in particular a little bit harder to stall out on.
Tachanka, Tubarão, yet again, the smoke ban will force these operators to carry more of the weight, more of the load, which I think is to be expected and will make it tricky, like you said. But look at this. Almost entirely anchor operators being brought. Very seldom do you see them roam unless you've got a Mira that will establish herself away from the bomb site. And it looks like what the plan is. Palu reinforcing one of those quad walls up in break room. Mira's a very intriguing operator. I mean, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find an op who had such a dramatic impact on the way that this game was played, and things have been completely different since Velvet Shell when she and Jackal first came to be. One of the most powerful defenders when used right. They've had to continue to give her counters because of just how strong she is. The most recent being that you can just walk up and melee the Black Mirror and take away that vantage point that you're given. But teams have been experimenting with her over the years. First from an anchor, now to a roamer. Sometimes she actually will anchor while her mirrors are elsewhere. In this instance, it looked like Palu would be entrenched upstairs, but maybe he's left Dodez to do most of the work. No, Palu is still there, Jesse.
Together, as friends, holding things down hand in hand to make sure that NIP do not get a chance to enter the cafeteria and make themselves a nice, tasty lunch before going for the basement executes. We don't honestly see this Mira setup very commonly anymore. Usually the Mira is used in the server wall to try to stop any hard breach going down, but Palu bringing it old school a little bit. Facing a lot of pressure though now. We're seeing a great entry coming in from NIP. I love the spot of this Blackbeard challenging from the blue stairs, but Fantasy is watching it, so it's not a real threat for them. Here could be the first kill. Nice little entry. Great flick on a Palu.
Seems that so goes Fantasy, so the way the Fantasy goes, so goes Nip. I mean, you're going to need a big game out of him most of the time, especially as you get deeper into the playoffs. Competition is just going to continue to get tougher and tougher and tougher. I know that we were a bit critical of why Nip chose this map, but they're about to be up 5-2 unless Dots and Volps can clutch a 2v4 with over a minute still left.
Yeah, feeling really confident at this point. You've got lots of fire still in the bomb site, but I'm afraid that's not really going to matter with how much time there is on the side of NIP. It would have to be a pretty big fumble to come through. The attackers have some fire of their own, with Pino playing that Capitao, yet to use any of his utility. Khan's yet to use any of his utility, playing on the Maverick as well. Hasn't really needed to open those hatches as the defense opened most of them for them. They've used their Twitch drones already to clear most of these Goyo canisters. We can have some pressure in the back. I like this a lot, Parker. This is looking really, really good for the Ninjas.
Very good. Instead of 2v4, how about a 1v4? Volps is an amazing player. Many in the region consider him to be among the giants, but he's got his work cut out for him. He swings the hatch. Pino's there holding court. When you've got 4 players left and a single defender to find, you can stick 2 players in not unconventional spots, but areas that are not in the actual execute area. And the diffuser was getting planted while that action happened. Nip just toppling w7m time and time again, almost like clockwork. I don't know. What's your assessment here? What can w7m do, Jesse, to turn this around?
It's been tough, Parker, because it felt like they were in the driver's seat for most of the second quarter. They were really bringing it back on the attack, but I felt like round 6 just really took the wind out from under them. They lost one attack there again, they lost one defense there. Ended up just being some aggressive plays in the roam game. Didn't go the way of Palu and Dodez. That's kind of the combo that needed to pop off in the early game. They just didn't get enough kills roaming, and sometimes that's going to happen. It comes down to NIP just being so good at this map. I mean, again, yes, they are on a 3-game losing streak on Bank, but those games were 7-5 against Furia, 8-7 against FaZe, 8-7 against Los. They're still very good results, and I think if you watch the individual rounds when Nipper playing on Bank, you'll very quickly recognize how good this team is at the map. So awkward for w7m. Their Bank defenses have never really been anything to write home about. They've always struggled on this map defensively. The fact that they can't even win the bottom floor bomb site is a huge red flag for me. They'll do their best to go back up to the top floor, and I mean, they've got some great operators. I really like the Echo on this site, but with NIP bringing out this Glazon Fantasy, bringing out the Raura on Pino, they're going to have a lot of good tools to get early picks and then make a strong execute too.
Early picks for Nip have been strong across the board here. The attackers definitely seeming like they have their day. Nip have that side of the map figured out. 0-3? Who said was Nip's stat line on this map? Did I hear correctly? Jesse,
sorry, I was
hello?
taking a sip of water. Yes, I was drinking. Sorry.
Unbelievable.
A man's got to stay hydrated, Parker.
It sounds like you had a drinking problem in that particular instance.
It's not funny, Parker.
Get it, because we're talking, but the problem is that you were just drinking water while I was trying to talk to you. You know what? You didn't give me anything yesterday. You didn't give me anything yesterday. A friend of ours A dear friend of ours was actually watching that broadcast when I said, "You don't think I'm funny?" And he messaged me and he said, "I think you're funny." And that's really all I needed. You might not laugh at my jokes, but some people do.
What friend was that?
I'll
So you
DM
made
it to
them
you.
up.
I'm not
Okay,
saying it
good
out
to
loud.
know.
I'm not exposing them on the
You
broadcast.
made them up. All right. Good to know.
That's sent to me in confidence.
Loban is about to die bottom square, maybe. He is rotating around the office. He's actually went the other direction, so he probably won't be here in a moment. Could have made the choice to go for it, but didn't.
Jesse Loban is still alive.
Yeah, he actually just went up the main stairs, so he's
He
not
said he
going
was
to
about
play
to die.
aggressive. He didn't even toss a nitro. But if he'd gone the other way, if he'd gone for a flank, he would have. But he went back to site.
Hates dies first. It's a weird way to spell Loban. No? Okay. I hear you laughing. Fantasy dies as well. These rounds have been so dominant. First it was Nip. Now it's w7m. The round on the line, but hold on a second. Pino and Wizard have now narrowed it down to 3 players still upright. But those 3 players find their marks, and w7m is still very much in this. They'll find their 3rd round, closing in on tying things up.
For a team that's known for their fast-paced defenses, w7m really put the brakes on in round number 8, and I think it did them a lot of good. You know, they could have gone for that flank down below. We could have seen Loban go for a push through cafeteria, fight the guy on square wall, but instead just chooses to return back to site. They know that they've got NIP kind of right where they want them. They've been able to slow the hard breach as it comes on through. They've still got the yokais in the site. They've still got 2 nitro cells to the point when the push comes through. So it really did feel like they were in control start to finish in that round. Eventually you saw Dodez go for a drop down through the stock hatch, but it really felt like their passive play in that round was rewarded. NIP maybe expecting a bit more movement, expecting a bit more aggression, but weren't able to do much to force that out. They didn't bring a Grim. They didn't bring a Capitao. The Ying was banned, and that wasn't going to be an option for them. So they were really left to just hold their angles, and w7m very smartly stood still and won the round on time mostly.
It's a silly thing to say, but I mean, the clock really hasn't been a huge factor in most of these rounds. All of this action's been breaking out quite early. Teams are getting high impact kills before the first minute, before the first 90 seconds, and usually we're staring down a team with maybe 2 players left with about a minute left on the clock. I know that we had a long day yesterday. I know that I said that we will be unlikely to repeat that today. Obviously, it's possible, especially with the break between the 2 maps, or between the 2 matches, technically. For those that didn't hear when we were talking right before commercials, the winner of this game will go up against FaZe Clan, who fell at the hands of Furia in the very first match of the day. But because they want to give these teams a break, whether it's NIP or w7m, there will be a longer pause between this match and the final match of the day. Furia sits in the grand finals, waiting eagerly to see whether it'll be FaZe, NIP, or w7m they have to tussle with.
Eyes on Volps, currently playing long desk and janitor. He would typically play this position on the smoke, but it got banned out, so he's here on the mute instead. It's a lot harder to stall things out, and he can't stop this blitz from just walking in. Still somehow walks away with the victory. Bit of a scuffed gunfight from Cons, and that's going to allow his team to start falling apart of this top floor clear. They did kill Loban, but with everybody at this point starting to back off of the top floor, you got to imagine this is favorable w7m. Volps is still sticking around. And Parker, he might be good for another. No, he will die and make it a 3v3, but I really like the chaos that he caused up there, even though he didn't have his favorite operator.
And what did we say? Early action, Jesse. 120 still left in this round. 4 graves dug, 2 on either side. No real damage done beyond that. So all of these altercations have seen the souls that were being targeted claimed quite successfully. Dodez is top frag on w7m right now. A bit abnormal given his role, but he'll be tied up with Palu, who finds an 8th kill onto Wizard. Wizard had no kills for a pretty long period of time in this match and is now leveled up to the point where even Wizard is tied with Pino, and Pino will have to do all the work himself. He'll tie Dodez and Palu, all 3 remaining players in this server, alive with 8 kills. 1 for Nip, 2 for w7m. And both Palu and Dodez do not seem very interested in engaging with Pino. Kill as much time as possible. You've still got utility strewn about this map. Pino edging his way into the bomb site. Down goes a Goyo canister. He'd taken out a Banshee as well, and he's searching for Dodez, who at one point in time was the closest operator to him. He'll find him, but maybe not in the direction he wanted. W7M wins the round, and the gap between the two teams is just a single round.
We creep closer and closer to the 45-round game that we missed out on yesterday when we had NIP last in the server. The 44-round matchup against Los was absolutely critical for getting it to this spot. They're going to be extremely thankful that they had a day off between that last game and this game. If they're successful, of course, they won't have another day off. They have to play FaZe Clan after this match is over later tonight. So you'd like to get a quick victory if you're either of these teams. The 2-0 is quite important just to keep yourself sharp, keep yourself well rested. I thought it was a really strong defense from w7m in the previous round. Again, I really got to credit Volps for his play on the top floor. Being able to take down the blitz of Cons was critical for that round in the trade game. Just very good in the 3v3 down to the bottom floor. They get to try the floor bomb site again, Parker. And I really hope we don't see another extension up into open area. You know, sometimes that can work for teams, but given how well NIP dismantled it, I don't want to see them going for that again. They do still have the Mira, but instead of being Paulu, it's Volps who's grabbed it this time, which to me suggests that they are going to play this a little bit more passive, a little bit more standard. Put both those windows in the site, likely one of them to try to help with the wall denials. I'm feeling good about the defensive lineup right now for them. It doesn't look like they're going to repeat.
Spoke too soon about how the attackers have an advantage here, or maybe it's just the team lineup, but w7m are certainly putting their money where their mouth is. How devastating it would be for Nip to go 0-4 on this map. W7M did not win their own map pick yesterday against Team Liquid. They dominated Liquid on Liquid's map choice of 7-0, an incredible scoreline. The only 7-0 that we've had in the playoffs here in SAL. So if w7m win this map, it's not necessarily a certainty that they're going to close this out in 2, especially if yesterday was any indication. Now, one could argue that Nip and Liquid are not really peers at this level. Stats-wise, it would suggest that Nip is a clear-cut favorite just based on the group standings, but Nip almost lost to Los yesterday. So playoffs just really go to show you that just because you did well in the group stages doesn't necessarily mean that success will translate to a best-of-3 environment when you're competing against the other top 5 teams in the region.
Dot's caught on a drone here in cafeteria. Should be dead to rights if they can coordinate a push on him. The soft wall should make it even easier as well. I like this nade for fantasy. Should protect him from a push up the stairs, and then a brilliant shot onto Dots for the opening pick. That's exactly what he was looking for. The pressure's not done here. Inside a printer, Dodez goes for an aggressive swing, and Parker, this is exactly what I didn't want to see. They get it down on Cons, but it's unlikely to be confirmed. A perfect roam clear from NIP as they kill 2 defenders without losing 1.
Cons is retrievable too. It knocks w7m in a very unfortunate position as they've still got nitro cells. Oh my goodness! So it's tossed a bit short. Volps could have blown this round wide open, taking care of 2 separate players on Nip. Instead, it misses, and Cons gets brought back from the dead, and a 5v3 with 1 minute left is what Nip stares down.
Loban going for a swing. I mean, this surely would be watched for. He doesn't have to as well. With Paulu and Volps both getting a kill in the site, the push is underway, but it's not started very.
And now a 3v3. Volps will immediately get punished after saying that, leaving w7m outnumbered by 1. I mean, they've still got the Vigil. Might be able to create quite the surprise for this Nip team, but because Nip has the numbers advantage, yeah, they're going to sit and wait. That's the Vigil of Loban all the way back at elevator, Jesse. If this is a direct server hit, it will all fall on the shoulders of Paulu. If they decide to go through lockers or the back portion of this map, Loban will be prepped and ready for it. Paulu sees all the bees go down, and now the smoke too. 10 seconds left. He's got impacts, but no nitro cell, so nothing will be able to stop it. Wizard drops And it's a missed opportunity by Lobin, who pulls trigger on the Boss G, but misses his shot. Wizard will find kill number 10 as Nip let W7M get close, but not close enough. The gap goes back to 2, and Ninjas in Pyjamas moves to map point.
Bit of a low impact round from Low. I was hoping someone would push him down the main stairs, which would have given him a great opportunity with the Boss G to find a frag and maybe open things up for a flank, but just wasn't really in the cards. It was a nice drop down through the hatch from NIP to start putting pressure deep onto the one anchor of Palu. Again, you maybe wonder a little bit how that plan, or how the drop ends up happening, just given the fact it was relatively safe. He dropped into the site hash. That's what it was. Okay, so a little bit safer this time when he goes for the drop, but does one way or another get us to map point, which prompts attack timeout from W7M down 6-4. They must win their next 2 defenses, with this basement bomb site being a real problem. And Parker, it's kind of the same problem both times with them choosing to go for quite a committed roam inside of open area. We see this a lot in South America, and I get it. You know, it is in some sense the meta, but you look to other regions where teams will just choose to shoot a couple drones, then fall off through the hatches. I'd really like to see W7M try that style of a defense where they just play for the 5v5 execute. It can be so good on the bottom floor of Bank. They'll go top floor for round 11, maybe round 12. That'll be in the cards, but Bank is simply a map where if you cannot win the bottom floor in defense, you have no shot of winning the map.
So W7M has 2 more opportunities to send us to OT, and then we'll get 2 rounds to see if they can emerge with a victory on Nip's map. This is a very different Nip team than we saw against Los. Nip never really struggled with W7M on this map the way that we saw Nip struggle with Los. And again, it really does show us that sometimes the standings of the group stages don't tell the whole story. Los had only 10 points. Team Liquid finished in 5th, 1 spot above Los with 17 points. Nip won the league with 22 points. They had over double what Los's tally was, and yet Los pushed them to the brink again, and again. Meanwhile, W7M was just a single win back of Nip, 3 points, and yet Nip on a map that they are winless so far through this stage look primed and ready to put this one away. They will begin their assault by attacking the lobby, and that was a Nook that had walked in along with the blitz of Cons, spotted by a Yokai drone. Grenade goes out, clearing out some of the rubble on the main stairs, and now Nip will vacate the building and think about next steps.
I want to talk about that thermite ban that W7M pulled after round 9. It's going to stop the square push that NIP went for last time they were on this bomb site. Top floor was the only site actually where they brought the thermite, so it's specifically targeted to make this defense easier on the side of W7M, and it in some ways forces NIP to go for more of a lobby side execute. Much more difficult to get those square walls open when you don't have the thermite, so that's the hope for NIP at the very least. Wizard on the ace might be able to make something happen, but given how many players are applying pressure to this lobby side, it feels like the operator ban is doing exactly what they wanted. Nice twitch drone work from Pino. It just gets that mute jammer, which means Wizard can start to open up the wall. That makes Dots a lot more fragile, playing just inside the elevators on the top floor.
Still suspended on these rappels as Fantasy's main entry was that lobby and is now sweeping around through square stairs, and just underneath that skylight he might ascend to the top floor on the complete opposite side of the map. Cons is doing the same thing, albeit with a bit less concealment. A Nook is quiet and will not be detected. A Blitz is quite literally the opposite of that. Yokai's is still in position. And it looks like they've managed to drone it out as Khan's now ascending those stairs. He'll get blasted by Echo's Yokai. Think otherwise of it. One of the slowest rounds that we've seen now, Jesse, with 50 seconds left and everybody's still alive. But right as I say that, Palu gets on the board. Doda's traded out. Khan's the casualty on the side of Nip. But here comes the Nook. Creeping up, Fantasy looking to exploit whatever might be happening on the side of W7M. He will have to hurry as Hates is now taken down. They trade out. The Nook does nothing. Wizard and Pino in a 2v3. W7M fighting for their lives at this point. Wolves has sustained a lot of damage, as has Pino. Dots and Elevator will catch both of these players on Nip as they head up the main spiral stairs. Guns pointed in the direction. Down goes Pino. Wizard not joining just yet. He takes down 2, but the final player on W7M gets it to stay in this match, and we will go all 12 rounds.
Way closer than it probably should have been. A technical 1v1 clutch coming out from W7M. But I do have to say, it felt like they were in control of that round from the very start until probably the last quarter of a second when it maybe got a bit scrappy. Even still, the trades were really strong late. In the early round, you could see exactly how their game plan was coming together to force NIP to do what they wanted them to do. W7M didn't want to have to go up against a square push, so they banned out that thermite. That forces NIP to push lobby side with the blitz. But now W7M prepared for that. They're aware of what NIP's lobby side push looks like. They play really well with that Echo drone. Dots is so annoying. It's frankly a miserable round to try to push up those lobby stairs. And NIP, I mean, it's just nothing that they can do against all that utility. The good teamwork being played at the front of the site. Fantasy, I like that attempt. Nice little try with the Nook, but it does seem like it got read by W7M as well. So altogether, just a strong defense and a strong game plan that forces that play out of them. They will, for the 3rd time now, Parker, try the bottom floor bomb site. They have lost it twice. They've won every other site on the defense. I'm begging them at this point to just play a little bit more reined in on the top floor. I don't want to see 2 guys just sitting in cafeteria, sitting in open area, because both times they've tried that, the roamers have gotten cleared, and they've just not had an advantage when they go into the late round.
W7M losing those forces early has been a problem that has reared its head a few times, Jesse. But yeah, this bomb site obviously being a major headache. Nib have made some really long strides in the first 30 seconds. Their focus will be on Garage, which, based on the silhouettes, looks like it's not being actively held. There's a rotate now coming in as the drones give them the all clear. There go the smokes, and the glass of Fantasy will continue to creep up now, just looking over the armored car. Surely these defenders will hear the canister go off. Not a single soul from W7M wanting to tussle with this glass at this current point in time, and Fantasy will drone himself in, so the other 4 players on NIP all assembled elsewhere. NIP could put map 1 away here in the next 2 minutes.
I don't think they know there's a guy in Garage, Parker. I mean, they haven't cleared it. They know there could be, but this is not an area of the map that they have very much information on. They will get the opening pick onto Wizard. They've actually extended even farther up to the top floor, so they're playing more aggressive on the roam game, which means that they can kind of take those gunfights, and so far they've paid off, but it's a very strange setup at the moment. Hollow in the site, Volp's server stairs with the Echo is a weird spot to find himself in. Pino is in dirt tunnel, so they've got to be careful about that pinch that could happen on server stairs. If you lose your Echo before the execute, it could be a really dangerous situation.
Don't love that Nips lost 1 early. They'll lose another now too. W7M looking like it's a tie game. They just need to hang on for another minute. Nodez and Pino both dropped, so a perfect trade. W7M still in the driver's seat. Down goes Hates and down goes Fantasy. What happened there? The roam play did not seem to be much of a factor at all. Almost every single kill happening in areas that were not expected by our observing team. And W7M have tied this up. What a map 1 we've witnessed.
Yeah, it was a bit of a crazy round. There were 2 players pushing dirt tunnel that whole round. It was Wizard and Pino. Both of them died. Pino got 1 kill, and then it was an immediate trade back. They shot each other in the head. So kind of a crazy set of events down by dirt tunnel. It really didn't go their way. I think because there was so much of a roam game committed by W7M, NIP sort of tried to ignore it, but then the few roamers that they did toss at Loban all got eaten up. Dots was there to play with him on the roam game as well, and things just kind of fell to pieces from there. A very disconnected push where 2 guys were dirt tunnel, the glass was garage, and then 2 guys were going for the roam, and in none of those 3 areas did NIP really walk away the victors. So W7M, they win the round. They do it in their own way. They don't play a 5-man anchor strat like I was hoping for, but sometimes you just got to trust in the process, I suppose, and they do eventually get that bottom floor win. Prompts NIP to take attack timeout, Parker, which I feel is a little bit odd because, yes, maybe those last couple rounds weren't going your way, but those were all attacking rounds, and you swapped to defense. So it's a really different ball game, and your defensive side was actually pretty strong. So I'm interested to see why that attack timeout was called when it was. Maybe just thinking that it's critical they win their own defense. They need to call it now to calm the players down.
It's good speculation. And again, we don't get to hear everything that's going on with the team comms. Even if we did, I don't think it would be of much use, because unless you've learned Portuguese in the last 19 hours, you probably wouldn't understand what they're saying. But sometimes timeouts are called for more of a mental reset than a strategic one. Sometimes your strategy is fine, but players are just getting maybe a little bit anxious. Maybe they're getting a little overeager. Maybe they're getting too nervous. Maybe they're not taking fights when they should be. Maybe they're taking too many fights when they shouldn't be. We don't actually know what goes on in the team environment. You and I have never competed at this level. And when we do talk to players and coaches, rightly so, they're a bit reluctant to give us the full details. And unless we sit in on a scrim, it's really hard for us to understand what's going on. So either way, both teams now burning their timeout. We know that there will be 3 rounds to be played, potentially 2, but 3 is the maximum. And oh my goodness, how is Dots already dead?
Oh boy, would he walk in electrical? I have to imagine. Even on the shield though, like that's a tough one to lose it. Yeah, he jumped in printer actually, so it must have been a crazy long angle from Fantasy inside open area. He must have hit the shot somehow. That's going to be a big loss early for W7M, and you can tell NIP, they know the advantage they've just given themselves. They all fall back to the bomb site, one little pick onto the shield, and they will be happy to get out of here. You can still open the hatches. The 2-brow will slow it down, but there's no Kaid, so you don't have to be too worried about that. Eventually, these will get opened up. NIP running a very similar passive defense to what they were running all throughout that first half. The only real difference is they dropped the Warden in favor of the Fenrir. So it might make it a little bit more awkward to push into this bomb site. There's no Twitch being brought out by W7M, so those dread mines are likely to stay up unless they get hit by a nade or some other bit of utility.
Halfway point of the round, and all that's happened, Jesse, is Dots taken out in the first 30 seconds at the hands of Fantasy, who really has been lagging behind, I think, our expectations. But maybe it's, with us watching all these playoff games, it's time to admit that Fantasy isn't going to be the world beater who absolutely dominates games. Wizard has been having a lot more good looks than Fantasy, though Fantasy has high impact when he gets on the board. Hates having an uncharacteristically slow game. He entered after the group stages into the playoffs as the top performer on the side of NIP, not just from killing, but also from his EPS. He's having a rough go of it. Thank goodness for your support players. Wizard and Pino carrying the banner for this NIP team, as W7M are finding very limited success here on this hatch.
Yeah, starting just to work some of this, bait out the utility, burn the fire grenades if you can. 1v1 between Volps and Wizard, about to come to blows here in the garage, and he sees him through the tire. Gonna get the shot. It's a really difficult one to hit. Volps struggling with it a little bit. Wizard is still alive. Both of their teammates are dying on the top floor, Parker, so it's a bit of a stuffed engagement. The plant is happening while these two are distracted.
Down goes Hates, down goes Cons, and now it's Wizard inside a garage. This round looked all but certain for Ninjas in Pyjamas, especially after the early pick to Dots. Wizard finally claims the soul of Volps, but Loban and Palu will vacate the bomb site as quickly as they can after that diffuser goes down. It allows Wizard to get into a good spot, and he doesn't have very much info. There's Palu watching the hatch, 12 kills to his name. How about 13? Very similar to where he ended that Chalet match against Team Liquid yesterday, 14-0. Palu's had a couple more deaths this time, but if he can match 14 kills, that's a bright spot for W7M, who now find themselves in the driver's seat of this matchup. They have not led once. The best that they've been able to do is tie, which came at the tail end of round 4 when it was 2-2. Since then, they have been tied or trailing against Ninjas in Pyjamas. What a time for NIP to give up an incredibly important round.
And it all comes off the back of Loban, right? I mean, we were focused on the garage action, but Loban was simply inside server. The push comes through, his teammates go in to try to plant, and he holds W, walks through CC, and takes 2 bodies for his troubles. Eventually has to pick up the defuse kit, start the plant on his own. The frags that he was able to get, as well as Dodez dropping through the hatch on the Sens, were absolutely critical in turning the tides. It would have been awesome to see exactly how that happened, but I don't think anybody expected the garage gunfight to take as long as it did. Could have been a quick headshot and we flip back to the site, but listen, that's the way it goes sometimes. w7m putting together a strong execute off the back of a couple key players, and now I would say heavily in the lead. They don't choose to go to the bottom floor. That's usually a rare sight in overtime, but listen, with how that basement has gone for w7m, I think they've made the right call. You're going back to the top floor. The square push that was so successful from NIP cannot come back because once more you banned out the thermite. So do you try to force the lobby push again, which did not go your way, or do you find some other way to push through square, push into the site?
Out comes the Blackbeard, out comes the Zofia. I've noticed that Zofia's pick rate's been climbing a little bit in these playoffs too. She wasn't an operator that received any buffs during the most recent developer update. Maybe teams are just starting to realize she has a place and she's not quite as bad as they had believed. That's basically what happened with Finka, if you recall. Finka didn't really receive any changes, and then suddenly they figured out, oh, well, if we bring up Finka and all the LMGs, she's actually bonkers broken. Sometimes it takes teams who are maybe stuck in their ways to discover that there is more flexibility in this lineup, or maybe there's something that just Zofia brings to this particular bomb site that Nip likes.
Yeah, you've got a lot of throwables. You got 4 of those, maybe to help burn the Syria gates. Can openers as well, just in case Pino does go down. They're angling towards square, so this is going to be the idea of getting through there even without the thermite. I like the clear out of stock. Paulu ends up with the opening pick, though. Hates just falls 4 and 11 now from him as his team tries to take the space. They've gotten good ground. Stock is in their control, and they're shooting Nitro, so they're alive for now, but the bodies do keep on falling. A 5v3 now lead for the defenders.
And this is not good at all, Jesse. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, w7m have grabbed the lead. 1 minute and 15 seconds, though. Down goes another player on Nip, and it looks like an 0-4 on this map as w7m are poised to do what they did to Team Liquid, steal their map away from them yesterday. What can Nip muster here in the final minute?
They need a hero. They're in a 2v5. This is for the map. w7m's pick relies on the other side of the break, so this feels like a must-win round, Parker, but I don't see any opening.
No, and there goes Wizard. No withstand anymore. A vault in from Pino, and very nearly a flawless round for w7m as they take Nip's map and go up 1-0 in the series, looking towards their own map to close this one out 2-0.
A already injured Shield player by not having a good performance. So I think that's a good player to look at here on a map like Skyscraper.
Well, as I said, a lot of question marks, but the good thing is that the game is starting, so instead of talking about it, we're just gonna go find it out. We'll send it back to Intera and Jesse for Skyscraper.
Hey, Jesse, a map that we have not casted here in Brazil in quite some time. How excited are you?
I'm looking forward to it, Parker, especially because we have such little footage on these teams that we really don't know how things are going to go. There was a comment that Anne made on the desk there right before we jumped into things. She said, NIP, the best defensive team in the world, they were, or maybe they still are. That's a big maybe in my mind, because while they do still have the highest defending win rate in the South America League, they really did struggle against Los yesterday, dropping 11 out of 23 defensive rounds, which means they were just batting above 500. This will be the real kind of test. You're on a map that you are not comfortable on. NIP do not play this map. They are no fans of Skyscraper. And they have to play their defensive side against a w7m team who are super comfortable. They chose this map. There's a reason they wanted to play it. And yes, it's a very defender-sided map, but that just, I think, highlights even more of the problems if NIP don't manage to win the first half, if they don't have some strong defensive plays here. I mean, we're going to have a very quick second half because you know w7m will be ready when they move on to the defense.
Attackers are moving out to locate a bomb and defuse it.
Good defender team on a defender-sided map. Good things can happen. Nip must win this map. They fail here, they are out. Our top 3 will be Furia, FaZe, and w7m. And my goodness, Wizard almost finding a piece of Paulu. The first 15 seconds of action. That could have been quite the statement kill for Nip. Ditto for Paulu. If he had gotten it on side of w7m, they both walk away with no damage done.
Probably better for NIP to keep your players alive. I think Wizard makes the right call backing off in a situation like that. Moment, it seems like it's going to be a pretty direct take coming through from w7m. Laxing was saying he was hoping to see the Blackbeard get banned out from Dots, and I don't disagree. The Blackbeard is so powerful in the hands of Dots, but going for these hard bridge bans can be just as effective, and especially on a map like Sky, where there are some really important walls. We do see a lot of teams going for a strategy like this. The fact that you've banned out the ranged hard breachers means that using mirror windows to stop the walls from opening up is even more powerful. I believe they've done that over towards the Geisha wall, and they can do it on a couple different, couple other spots on this map as well. So some great opportunities for NIP to stall things out, make this difficult to push into. First 90 seconds have pretty much gone by, and we haven't seen anybody needlessly give up their life on the defense. So far, so good. I'm liking the position that NIP have put themselves in. Nothing over-aggressive just yet.
Yeah, no damage done, no real movement here on either of these teams. Utility work was required to open up Geisha so that w7m gets to a comfortable spot, but right now, that movement will come over through Terrace. The first battle being by Drum, and that's Hates standing on top of the steps, watching his own Kiva barrier. Khan's lead-off pick, down goes Volps. If w7m can start off hot, then they take a lot of this advantage that Nip has away from them. Maybe next round, though, Jesse, as both Palu and Volps are dead. w7m will now lose Dots, too, and it's Dodez and Lobin.
Oh,
Come on.
no.
You got it, Dodez. You got it. Trying to worm his way through that small opening on Geisha, getting nothing for it. Jesse, it's Lobin in a 1v5 and a flawless start by Nip as Fantasy shreds him.
He did not indeed have it. That was a little bit too tough for him to crawl through. And honestly, it comes off of, again, great operator bans from NIP. Usually, you'd be able to open that wall by putting a thermite charge on the outer Geisha wall. If you put it as far right as it can go, it'll have a large enough explosion to also open the wall into Drum, and you get 2 walls for the price of 1. But you can't put the thermite on the wall when there's an open mirror window staring at you menacingly, as there was for NIP. Perfectly strategized for them to take out those ranged hard breachers, and it makes it effectively impossible to open that Geisha wall unless you kill the player inside a Geisha, in which case, well, you don't really need the Geisha wall open anyways. So I really like the operator bans coming through from NIP. I think they were absolutely critical in helping them to win that round because it kept the Geisha wall closed from start to finish. See NIP starting off quite powerfully here with Fantasy stepping up for the big 3 kills, just swinging off his teammates over towards Drum, over towards the hallway. If we see more action like that, w7m will need to get really creative in how they take these round wins. That might mean some Ying, as we saw in round 1, or it might mean a ton of shield play, as we're seemingly seeing in round 2.
Attacker's objective is to locate a bomb.
2 shields, to your point. Blackbeard and Blitz both on the board for w7m. Now bring the Deimos 2, one of the most popular and most picked operators across all regions. He's the 5th most banned attacker in the South America League, trailing Ace just ahead of Hibana and Blackbeard. Most banned operator is Monty. What a shocker. Available, though, by the way, both the bans right now are hard breach bans. Hibana was banned out on Bank as well, so I guess they just don't want to play the Japanese hard breacher. Maybe she's too strong. Maybe they think that she just lines up well. Maybe it's a staple at w7m. Either way, you need to bring some level of hard breach. It's usually those secondary can openers, and you've got 2 in the hands of the Zofia, again popping up for w7m.
Somewhat newly added as well. Used to have those soft breach charges. They've gone for the full map clear. They realize they can't go straight to site because, again, these mirror windows have been placed on the outer walls. There is another window on the Geisha wall, so they're not going to open it, and that gets a free kill. What?
Oh!
What? Okay.
That was really messy, wasn't it? Oh my goodness.
Eventually was a free kill, I suppose, onto the Blitz jumping in the window.
And Blackbeard can just stay at backstairs and continue to fire away. Tick, tick, tick. Those bullets will deflect off of Volps' shield. Nip, off to a great start in round number 1. It continues now with 2 kills through round number 2 and half of the round to go.
So many problems for w7m to deal with. These roamers are not giving anything up. They lose Dodez, Blackbeard can't do anything, and they all fall to pieces. A flawless round for NIP on their second defense. It just feels like they cannot get into the building with any success. The Geisha wall, it continues to be a massive problem for them. You know, Fantasy's playing tucked inside a Geisha. It should have been a freebie pick onto the Blitz who jumped in on him. Eventually he got there, even if it was a little bit messy. He had some assistance from Hates playing inside a Drum. You have to make that jump in, though, if you're W7M, because you can't open the geisha wall. You can't just push linearly from the black stairs and from the door in the karaoke window. You know, you can't just have all of these angles being played. You need certain areas of the map. And with mirror windows stopping you from opening these walls, it's become basically impossible. The same problem has really stumped W7M twice in a row, which is why I think they're calling such an early attack timeout. Yes, it's skyscraper attack, and you don't expect to win your sky attacks, but these rounds have been so bad, like they haven't even come close, and they're losing to the same problem over and over again. I can guarantee you there will be a mirror ban after round 3, but in the meantime, they need to find some way around this operator.
Yeah, I mean, obviously troubling sign to call it so early, but I'm glad that it's being used, at least. Both of the timeouts were used at the tail end of map number 1. This time, use it maybe a bit early, but you've got to settle yourself down. 2 flawless rounds for Ninjas in Pyjamas. Not a single kill for W7M. Yeah, they're just running into the wall head first. This is their map. I know it's a defender-sided map. I know how good Nip is defending. This was all talked about.
Mm-hmm.
But even with all of those things, W7M probably should have put up a little bit more of a fight. It's been a catastrophic start. And again, we said it yesterday. Momentum doesn't really exist in the actual game itself. Sure, maybe operator bans and bomb sites do play a part, but it's not like there's an economy system or an item system or anything like that where if you fall behind, it is very challenging to get back in this. Mm-hmm. Most of the momentum that's going to come is going to be in your head. You cannot lose your grip. You cannot allow your opponents to start getting in the groove, to get in that pocket, or else at that point, after you've used your timeout, you might end up on an unfavorable side. It's curtains for a demotivated team. W7M doesn't strike me as a squad that gets demotivated, Jesse, but maybe that's a part of why they called that timeout, was because they were feeling a bit dejected.
Yeah, absolutely. This top floor clear is going to be the focus, as it always is. Barbecue Kitchen is the site. Getting in is again a problem. There are mirror windows on both the VIP wall at the top of the house stairs and then also on Geisha, as it's been every round so far. Looks like Loban's managed to find his way in, and Dots as well. So the office side of the map has been cleared without any casualties. This is where they'll start to hit a wall, of course. The Kiba barriers making a fortress inside of Drum. That's going to be really awkward to get past. You have to imagine over towards the shrine side of things, there's going to be a stronghold as well. Leave Wizards over in that direction to try to lock down that part of the map. So this is the real stopping point for the push of W7M. What is the entry point? It could be Palu by Geisha, but again, Geisha's been a real kill box for NIP so far.
It's been Fortress central for this Nip team. A beautiful shot by Khans. Dotez gets absolutely eviscerated. And another will follow. Khans again. You call a timeout. And Nip are just running you over. Finally, W7M gets on the board. A single kill from Loban. Second could be had over in Drum, but Nip will stack up bodies and finish him off. Through 3 rounds, W7M only able to muster 1 kill. Things don't improve that much after the timeout, but there really wasn't anywhere else to go but up at that point.
Yeah, that's tough to come through from W7M, not even really looking close in any of those rounds. Finally, the mirror gets banned. They won't have to deal with that anymore. Big plays coming out from Khans in that last round as well. It was a long angle at the SMG-11 to open things up and then just keeps on swinging into Geisha. It's such a strong position as long as that wall stays closed. Khans very quietly stole the title of best defensive player in South America in our last best of 3 where they went up against Los. He's got a 1.5 KDR exactly on the defensive side throughout this stage. So he's been extremely good when playing these defenders, and it's kind of rare to see someone in his role popping off so much in terms of the stats, right? Because he's not an aggressive roamer. He doesn't go for big flanks. He's the hard anchor. He likes to sit in one spot, play those SAS operators, and hit the shots that he needs to. But I think it just goes to show that, like, of all the players on NIP, he's the guy that you can rely upon to lock down one part of the map. And he's done that expertly so far here on Skyscraper.
10 seconds left. 5 seconds remaining.
W7M will be very quick and very soon to forget this first half. At this point, I think your mission is just to apply a tourniquet where you can and bleed as little as possible until you have an opportunity to actually do some serious work. A 5-1 first half for Nip is very possible with the way that this site rotation is going. Cons striking first in all 3 rounds. He's got 4 kills right now. 3 of them are opening picks, toppling w7m before they're really able to go into the building. And it's not just been the opening pick for Nip, Jesse. It's been that there's been a second that's followed in most of these rounds.
The geisha wall has been opened. I repeat, the geisha wall has been opened. So we're making more progress than any of the previous 3 rounds. That's massive. It's not a kill just yet, but they used the thermite trick to get the wall into drums as well, which is going to apply even more pressure to Hates, who's playing this position. They've got a shield on their own side of w7m with Dots playing outside of the wall, can start to pressure that side of the map and through geisha if he needs to. Nobody's down below at the moment, so this is a pretty free push from Loban, and he can start to apply pressure once he's cleared out this part of the map. They'll know that it's clear now, and they can start working verticality, hopefully to get a pick onto Hates.
W7M will strike first. First time they've been able to do that. Cons is still on the board. He must be very upset that somebody else has taken his crown away from him. Down goes Fantasy. So W7M called their timeout, tried to turn the tides, were not successful in the immediate round that followed. It seems that they've struck gold here on round number 4. Volps shredded as Wizard goes for the vault out, heading back in. Numbers now close. As you see the clash of Hates fading away, giving information to Wizard, but there is no follow-up to be had at the moment, Jesse.
No, this has been a good early advantage. Cons needs to go big, just like he did in the last round. He's playing the same position, but now he's watched by Amonte, so it's so much more difficult. He has to group back up with his teammates, gives up the ground, and just tries to play space. But hold on, a couple of kills go the way of NIP, and we're back to a 3-on-3.
I don't know what it is with this Nip team right now, but they are doing everything that they need to do to stay competitive. They lose Hate, so now it's Wizard and Cons still standing. Cons finding 1 kill. Wizard will need to clutch out. Cons still bleeding out. These last 2 players standing on the side of Nip. No deaths between them. The Monty of Dots is still up. I think that's where things get a bit challenging here, Jesse. A 1v1 against Loban is the best that Wizard can hope for. It is an opportunity to get Cons up. No way W7M let this happen. All the while, they're getting the diffuser planted. Dots does so successfully. There goes Wizard. And Cons back from the dead. Watching the bomb site, the diffuser not far away. The Monty breathing down his neck as Loban continues to step away. This is an impossible task for Cons here. Dots waiting. Nice shot from Cons. Loban around the corner. He can hip fire his way to victory, but he's got to kill time. Cons sprinting over to the case. Out goes the shotgun, trying to bait Loban into this. But he's lost where the case is, inside of gold. Away he goes. Loban wrapping around. A flashbang will go, pushing in off of the defuse kit, and Loban gets the kill. W7M on the board.
Beautiful play in that 2vx combo coming out from w7m. Loban in the 1vx as well played it really nicely, but in combination with the Monty, I think is where they really shined. Made, I think, a controversial decision to go for a plant. It was a little risky given you were in the 2v1 and it allowed your opponents to pick up and make it a 2v2, but in the end, it did work out for them. That's chemistry that's been built over so many damn years. Loban and Dots teaming together since 2018 and back on the console days when they used to be a team back before they made the jump to PC. So it's been nice to see them continue to thrive as a duo here in Tier 1, making some big plays against NIP to allow W7M to get their first round win on the board. And you know, Parker, I'm going to sound like a broken record, I know, but it's not a coincidence that they get the geisha wall open, they ban the Mira, and that results in a round win. Palu got a critical kill in that round from outside the breach, and just providing that second dimension really makes all the difference in the world for these executes for W7M. They have struggled in the first quarter of this game, but it's a whole new world now that we've entered into these last couple operator bans and completely turned the tides.
Was gonna make a joke saying like, wow, they actually opened up the wall and they were able to do well, because you're not going to get much done when you're outside of the building, but I mean, it does stand to reason. It's a different bomb site though. Your main focus is going to be on this office side. They should be able to get this wall open very quickly. nobody really having a good go of it on the side of w7m. Loban with 4 kills. He was monstrous in the previous round, going big, but beyond that, the guns have been quite quiet. And it's not just a lack of fragging. I mean, you can look at the kills and say, well, they're not obviously matching up to this NIP team. Technically, that is correct, but it doesn't show you, or it doesn't tell you the whole story. And the whole story is that on a map like Skyscraper, you need utility to open up gunfights. W7M have been struggling with the former, which means that they are definitely struggling with the latter. Cons will give them a leg up here, though, as he hops out of the window and Volps punishes him for it. You all saw the clash of hates outside early on, scouting for information. I don't know if this is a deliberate strategy by NIP or if they've made changes to deal with W7M, but it is certainly not working this round.
Another one goes down. Pino drops to Dodez, and it's a 3v5, a 2v5. Paulu's inside Geisha. He's got Volps alongside him, too. They've started to make so much space. Bombsight is off his exhibition, but I don't know if we'll get there, Parker. Wizard is full blind, dying inside of the roam game, and it will leave the clash in the 1v4, hoping for a miracle to get the 4th-1 lead.
I said a 5-1 was entirely possible. It is out of reach at this point. W7M picks up their 2nd round and could very easily tie. Jesse, what does it mean for NIP if W7M are able to win 3 attacking rounds?
I mean, it's a tale of 2 quarters, Parker. We see everything swap on that side swap or on the operator bands. And again, you go back to that opening pick that Cons has the run out. Cons only makes that play. He only jumps out of the terrace window because there is a thermite putting an exothermic charge on the Geisha wall. I said that 100 times today, but every round is really revolving around this one position because Paulu is playing the thermite and he's only playing that because there's no Mira. He can start to open up this wall. It forces NIP to do something aggressive, and it's something that W7M can account for, think about, and watch for to punish. Perfectly executed by W7M, and they just seem to know exactly how they want to play these rounds once they can get the walls open. It's just really made a night and day difference. Paulu able to play this operator, and now NIP, they frankly look like they're scrambling. If this last round goes the way the previous 2 did, then it seems like we're headed to a 3-3 split, and that's just not good enough when you're playing defense on Skyscraper. This is a must-win round for NIP.
Attackers are heading out to defuse a bomb.
Are we going to do this must-win versus non-must-win thing that we did the other day where I say, well, technically it's not a must-win because the round will continue to go onward?
I feel like every other human being listening to the cast, Parker, understands that I mean must win in like
every other human being. Chat, help me out here. Chat, help me out here.
Everyone. You think there's people in chat who thought the game would be over if it goes 3-3 at the half? Like actually ends?
Chat, let me ask you this. Are you stupid? Do you think that the game ends with a 4-2 scoreline? Because I know there's going to be some people who say yep. And all I need is one to prove you wrong.
They wouldn't do that, Parker. They're an intelligent bunch of folks watching there on twitch.tv/Rainbow6. Okay?
Now you're just lying to the viewers.
Some of the smartest people I know watch twitch.tv/Rainbow6.
Like me.
Reloading! Cover me!
Your silence speaks volumes. I will agree with you. Whether it is a must-win or not, we can agree on it being a very pivotal round. Because if W7M are able to draw even, NIP's triumphant start, all 3 rounds that they would have won at that point, won with just a single kill on the side of W7M. Suffering 1 death through 3 rounds? That's pretty good for NIP. But W7M, after that latest wave of operator bans and finally getting their footing when it comes to opening up walls, have shown us why they picked this map in the first place. Do keep in mind that W7M presumably is starting on the worst side of Skyscraper because they picked it. So when the side swap comes in, you expect W7M to take off. That's why Jesse said it was a must-win.
Very correct. Thankfully, this round is starting to go, I think, NIP's favor. They've stalled things out really nicely so far. The Geisha wall being open continues to be a problem, and we'll see what Loban does, but it makes the move and finds the Clash. Not quite. Doesn't deal enough damage, and the Clash gets out with her life.
Oh my goodness, you also heard a nitro cell go off. Explosions galore. That was the only nitro that was in hand for Ninjas in Pyjamas. Now it's got Wizard on the run, playing over by that little gold area. Taking some damage through the floor, through the drone hole. He seemed just as confused as we are. Dot's getting Diffuser down. Nobody in position to knock him off his stride just yet. He has to bail off. Volps and Paulu now in on the fun. In the corner is Cons. It started with a flawless round by Nip. It ends with a flawless round by W7M. The first half in the books. And it's a 3-3 tie. Huge for the Bulls.
And this is just such a scary Skyscraper team, Parker. As long as they can get the walls open, get set up for their execute, everything is well coordinated. They're playing off of the plant. It's not a hard commitment. They don't lose if the plant stops because they're using that plant to force movements out of the defenders, then punish that movement, get those big kills midway through the round. I thought that was excellent coming through from W7M. And they've put this game in a very scary spot for NIP. I want to see NIP ban the mirror right now. They will ban the bandit instead. So we're going to see the exact same thing, Parker. I mean, W7M will now get to play the mirror window on those outer walls. Without ranged hard breach, it's going to be impossible to open those walls. And it feels like we've just got a 3 rounds in a row that must go the way of W7M. NIP will need miracles if they want to open up some of those angles.
I mean, they're going to experience exactly what they did to W7M through those first 3 rounds. W7M needing some time to adjust to the chaos and the claustrophobia that comes about on a map like Skyscraper, but they did so with grace. And frankly, they did so quite quickly. 3 rounds to start for Nip, answered by 3 rounds from W7M. The idea is that Nip should have won 4-2, 5-1 to be in excellent position for the second half. As you can see at the top of your screen, that did not happen. Unfortunately for Nip and their fans, that puts them in quite a hole. Even though the scoreline is the same as if it was 0-0, it doesn't take into account the deficiency that attackers often have on Skyscraper. But let's maybe not get a bit too ahead of ourselves here. Jesse, we have seen attacker-sided maps swing violently in the way of the defenders, and the opposite has happened as well, with very defender-sided maps being friendly areas for the attackers. So I don't know if these operator bans will do too much, but direct mirror of what we saw in the first half. I like W7M's chances at this point.
As do I, Parker. This is going to be really tough, and I feel like NIP, they got to cause some chaos if they want to win a round set up like this. It's going to be a long round. They're setting up to clear office side over, which means they're going to get into early gunfights with anybody on this side of the map. I don't see any defenders playing over here, really. I mean, you've got the Azami inside a drum as usual. You've got some players in Dragon like Dodez, so maybe a little bit of play there, but okay, Dot's actually in office. All right, so this will kind of be the focal point. Can Dots get anything done? Absolutely not. Shut down by Fantasy, so that's most of the roam game gone. Unless anybody else on W7M wants to extend, this should be an advantage for NIP.
He'll continue to shoot away from the position that the Glass finds himself in. It's Pino hoping for something, anything. He's been held off the score sheet so far, but Cons, Hates, and Fantasy all sit with 6 kills. That's the high water mark at the moment. All of them ahead of the best on W7M, which is Loban sitting at 5 kills. Now bullets will go over the shoulder of Dodez, who tries to bait in the Dokkaebi. Hates will aggress. He thinks otherwise. A secondary shotgun pulled out. Down goes Volps, and Nip is off to the races here. Jesse finding just about every kill. Dodez the only one on the board. Now he'll contend with Wizard, who's been dropped, and suddenly W7M are within striking distance of this Nip team with still over a minute to go. Action could break out at any point. The Monty will now drop. Cons will get knocked over by Dodez, who doesn't want to get baited in. He's all on his lonesome. Fantasy's got every single kill for Nip so far. Can he find his 10th? Can he find the ace? Dodez says no. Down goes Fantasy. Diffuser going down in the hands of Cons. Pino will watch from far for kill number 1, and he will grab it onto Dodez. A huge round for Nip. May I even say, Jesse? A must win.
Well, they get there in the end, and it comes off the back of a massive play from Fantasy. 4 kills on the roam clear. W7M just kept sending more and more and more bodies to the office side of the map. They said, screw it. We are living or dying on this roam game. And man, it really felt like Dodez was putting in enough work to make it possible. If he's going up against anybody other than a Glaz in that position, I feel like he hits that shot and wins the round for his team, because he was on such a heater that matchup. Unfortunately, Fantasy was heating up just a little bit hotter, and so he's able to pop off, make that game-winning play for NIP, get them an attack where they really should not have been able to find one. He was the worst NIP player for the first 2 maps yesterday up against Los, but then popped off on map 3, going 14-9 with 130 EPS. If he pops off a little bit earlier today, they could save their fans some heartache, make this a decisive second map, take some of these attacks here on Skyscraper, and then force us to the 3rd map of Border with all the momentum. That would be huge for any fans of NIP.
And we're not done there. There is another matchup to come as well. Earlier today, Furia and FaZe Clan clashed in the upper bracket final. Furia managed to squeeze out a victory 2-1 in what was a pretty incredible display. Map number 1 won by Furia oh so dominantly. Skyscraper, this very map here, not casted by us, so it is technically been a while since you and I have seen it, quote unquote. Went all 12 and then you needed all 15 in the final map, which was Chalet, which was eventually won by Furia in the very final round. It's pushed FaZe Clan down to the lower bracket finals. They will be in action later today. They play the winner of this series. Loser is done for. That is their stage 2 in the books. Right now, w7m have the advantage. They took NIP's map away from them and just drew even through that first half. w7m in great position still due to the side, but they've got to get through NIP first.
A tactical elimination of an air jab from Volps will set them up a lot better on the roam game than where they were previously. They ran back essentially the exact same defense, swapping out just the smoke for the clash on the side of Volps, but NIP are not going for a similar attack. Instead, it's going to be more direct to sight. They're not going to take that office control. It means that all the resources w7m committed to that side of the map might end up being a little bit wasted. NIP have plenty of utility on their own. They're going to have air jabs, they're going to have bees, and Wizard is in the sight.
Nobody died just yet. Wizard will go into the ground. So will Paulu. Both of them. No more. Fantasy traded out for Loban. Neither of these teams finding a distinct advantage as they come to blows. 3v3 now as Hates gets himself out of a bad spot from Geisha over towards Drum. The diffuser being walked in by Cons towards backstairs. Now it's Volps in the ground. Dodes and Dots, the last 2 standing. Now it's just up to Dodes to clutch out. He finds 1 kill. And the attackers are having their day right now. NIP, despite all of our prognosticating, has won 2 rounds on attack and are closing in on a victory on w7m's map.
Yeah, and Parker, I have to give them credit for how they've played these pushes. I was very critical when they chose to ban Bandit instead of the Mira because I thought there's no way they're going to get the walls open. And let's be honest, they're not getting the walls open. But unlike w7m, that doesn't immediately mean that the round is over. NIP are finding really creative ways to get into these attacks without having all of the hard breach that they may want in some of these rounds. The first time it was Fantasy walking in, getting a 4K, but working off the back of the shields that were helping him out with Cons making some great play on that. And then that time it was just Hates taking advantage of the chaos, working his way up those main stairs and catching 3 players off guard for a massive triple to help his team win the round. The 2 entry fraggers of NIP, the star players that you expect to see come alive, are doing just that on the offensive side of Skyscraper, and they're making it look like a completely different map, despite the operator bans being exactly the same and the bomb sites being exactly the same as what we started with.
5 seconds to insertion.
NIP have shown absolute flashes of brilliance throughout this second stage. There is a reason why they finished first in the region, but success has not found them so far through these playoffs. They had a bye. They started on the second day in the upper bracket semifinals, in which they could have clinched a spot to Munich very early. And yet, they were bested by FaZe Clan in what was at the time the closest best of 3 that we saw. It only went 2 maps, but it was 8-7, 8-7. That tally would then later be outdone by Ninjas in Pyjamas versus Los, which we watched yesterday. That went 15 rounds, 15 rounds, 14 rounds. NIP coming within 1 round of getting bounced by Los. That would have been no major spot. They show flashes of brilliance, and then you see what happens to Fantasy just a couple seconds ago. Ian Hates tied on top of the team with 9 kills apiece. Now it's Hates getting shot up by w7m. The Bulls really need to bounce back around here, Jesse.
Early aggression has gone their way, and they're hungry for more. Still extended into this karaoke side of the map. There was a spawn peak shrine window from Dodes that got them the 5v4, and they're still willing to play aggressively here. Volps goes down the black stairs, so chooses to back off a little bit, and his teammates are likely to follow. The Nitro Cell could be massive as it does get prepped. I believe that's just below Drum to try to open up some of that angles once they take that space. But at the moment, NIP are actually choosing to back off. Palu will be the one to walk through Drum, and maybe a Candela gets committed, but every body on the side of NIP is moving back towards the bomb site from outside.
I think you need to at this point in time, right? You got to coalesce around it. There's the Warden to quarterback this play. You might not have any issue with those flashbangs, but the frag grenades still do quite a bit of damage. Those smart glasses won't protect him at all. And Palu waits it out. All that utility expended, but there's nothing found on the side of Nip. So now they take matters into their own hands. They waltz their way through Geisha. Now up main stairs. Palu still in this position. He hears the Blackbeard coming, pulls out the Nitro Cell. Volps takes one down with his own Nitro Cell, and it's Pino in the ground. w7m very swiftly removing these Nip players, Jesse, and it's a 5v2. No damage has been done to w7m. Khan slowed down by Loban, as this is a very long bit of action.
Is the Geisha Nitro Cell. I said Drum earlier, my mistake from Volps that got that pick onto Pino. Now it's a 2v5, likely hopeless. Palu knows how strong this is. The Clash is giving him the supports. He gets his frag anyways, and we'll get the last one too. Nice couple kills from Palu. Closes out the flawless round, and I think a necessary one just to get the mental back on track, right? Parker losing round 7 and 8 adds the defenders is absolutely brutal, but they jump back in. Their aggression actually works this time. They get that leadoff pick, and I think it really makes all the difference. Now you have to kind of struggle. Do NIP even ban out the Mira in their third operator ban? Because they weren't struggling too much with it. They were finding other ways to win the rounds. For w7m, how do you respond? The shields have been a big problem, but you can only ban one at this point. The Dokkaebi was good in your second defense. They go for the Ying ban instead, and it will be the Clash that gets removed. So feeling like they have ways around the Mira windows being on these walls, I can respect it given how round 7 and 8 went, but you got to think there's an opportunity here for w7m to close this map down.
It exists, and it's forced Nip to call their timeout, at which w7m will be able to talk amongst themselves and with their coach too, Jesse. w7m burned their timeout after the conclusion of round 2, which they were shut out in both of those starting rounds. They only found a single kill through the first 3 of this map. Oh, whoa, to be w7m, and look back on those first 3 rounds and think maybe if we'd been a bit more prepared, maybe if we'd done a couple things a bit differently, this would be a completely different ballgame. Nip would not have the lead and would not be in this position where they are now. Timeout ends, and w7m will look to close the gap further. We could go all 12 rounds if w7m prevails here on their defensive barbecue kitchen.
On their defensive barbecue kitchen. Okay. T-Karaoke is open. I mean, they're 0 for 200, I suppose. They're going to want to win all 3 of these next rounds. You've got to go through a site rotation unless this game is going to go overtime. So why not give it a try? You've got to win barbecue kitchen at some point. Generally thought of as the 3rd best bomb site on this map, and we'll see what NIP look like when they attack a map like this. The Ying is going to be an important ban to take out from w7m. I was kind of talking a little bit of what they might remove. It was played twice in the first 3 attacks by Pino, so he's going to have to choose a different operator for the rest of this game. He did rock the Glaz on their very first attack when they rushed through on the office side and got the big roam clear picks that they were going for. Pino opts for the Capitao, which can honestly do a lot of the same job that Ying does. You're not blinding anybody with the Capitao, but you can still use those firebolts to push defenders out of positions. And that displacement is often where you're using a Ying for anyways.
Maybe not as close as any of the series we saw yesterday, but still an exciting one, Jesse. Nip is an exciting team, not because of their explosiveness, that's part of it, but also, frankly, because of their inconsistency. The fact that they are not this dominant team-crushing machine allows us to settle into these maps and, well, mostly go the distance. Nip has played a lot of rounds so far. The first map that they played, all 15 rounds against FaZe Clan. Second map, all 15 rounds. Third map, all 15 rounds. Fourth map, all 15 rounds. Fifth map, 14 rounds. That's crazy. That's just before we get in here. What happened on Bank? 14 rounds. NIP have played in every map that they have played. NIP have played all but a possible 2 rounds so far.
Absolutely
Talk about
ridiculous.
running the gauntlet. Good Lord. W7M starts things off. It's traded back immediately by Fantasy onto a completely unrelated player. Dots and Loban taking a lot of damage in the process. Jesse, Fantasy will get on the board, finding what remained of Loban. And now W7M has their backs against the wall.
They're letting the Wonder Kid heat up, and that's a huge problem. Not even in the building, and likely to get a 3rd kill if Volps does challenge this. 3 Kibas, so if he really wants to cross, he should be able to, but opts to just fall back to the site instead. Play those black stairs, go top floor to try to support Dodez, who is dealing with his own problems with the Deimos hunting him down. They're hoping they can lure him into a trap, but Wizards been a little bit smarter than that. The top floor clear is critical that it goes well. Cons takes lots of damage, but he does survive until just now.
And back to a 3v3. W7M had their backs against the wall, but they have launched off very well and now thrown NIP into not a tailspin, but certainly far from the certainty in a round that NIP was hoping to win, to push to map point, really keep this W7M team with their backs against the walls. It will not happen. This bomb site has been played a single time so far. It was played by NIP back in round number 3, and it was won amidst that early streak of dominance. These teams, speaking of streaks, have won many consecutive rounds. NIP won 3 in a row. W7M won 3 in a row. NIP won 2 in a row. W7M could do the same, but we'll have to fight down in numbers with 10 seconds left. Volps and Dodez. Just Volps now. As 3 players in NIP will close in on this bomb site. Volps is hidden, tied in. He thought he got the down on Pino, but muscle memory. She's a tricky one, isn't she? NIP moved to map point.
Honestly, kind of a scary finish for NIP. That was winnable for Volps, but they had really good teamwork in the 3v1 to pinch onto his position right as the hatch drop happened. Another player swings in from Barbecue. So really nice to see that coming through. The team play from NIP. Low time on that round, but they still get the job done. They still force here the map point 6-4 lead on their opponent's pick to try to force that 3rd. It's been a great game from everyone on NIP, but specifically Fantasy, man. Another huge round coming out from the former Furious star, who ended up in Tier 2 for quite a few years after not really finding success when that Furia team really disbanded and blew up in 2022. Now to see him coming back into action on this NIP team. They were good enough for top 4 in stage 1, good enough for top 4 in stage 2. I'm so excited to see this team back on land in an international environment, because I think Fantasy is just going to put on such a show for us all. But you've got to finish off these SAL playoffs first, and he is bringing his team along to that goal. One more round will force that 3rd map, and then a date with FaZe Clan right after, if they manage to win it.
FaZe getting a relatively long break. As long as this series goes, FaZe is hoping that it's a bloody, scrappy affair that goes all 3 maps, potentially into OT once more, potentially twice more if Border is on the docket. W7M were in a familiar spot on Bank. It was a 6-4 scoreline through 10 rounds with NIP in the lead. W7M won the next 2 rounds on defense, then won the 2 rounds of overtime that were played. W7M finds themselves in a similar spot. 6-4 scoreline through 10 rounds. W7M defending just as they were on Bank. The difference is that this is their map. W7M were unable to win their map against Team Liquid yesterday. The 2 teams traded their maps back and forth. The last time W7M won their own map was against Los in the upper bracket finals, played on October 11th, a week ago. They were not able to win their map against Furia. They didn't do it against Team Liquid. And now they're in jeopardy of not doing it here against NIP as well.
Home clear is going pretty well so far. It's a completely different op lineup for W7M in their 3rd attempt at defending T-Room and Karaoke. They didn't bring the mirror window, so the office wall was open with very little problems. Now they're starting to put pressure on the players who have stuck around. It's going to be Dodez, who's here, still playing at the top of the house stairs, and he's got some help as well with Dots in that similar position. Loban is about to fight a Monty, who's going to walk in his door straight to Shrine, but he's making the plays instead. Swings out to kill Fantasy. The best player in NIP will fall. Volp takes another one on the Hates.
So here's w7m firing up the war machine, aren't they? But hold on a second. Pino has something to say about that. He's going to have a lot more to say, as he and Wizard will now be doubled up upon by this w7m armada. Down he goes at the hands of Dodez, and it's Pino to die last. w7m looking to repeat history. They find their 5th round, and we will go all 12. Jesse, do you think we're cursed?
Parker, we might be, but it's the best curse possible because it means we get to watch some of the best siege that happens here at the end of the stage. These SAL playoffs have been absolutely amazing, and I have no clue how it's going to end. We're building up for a fantastic grand final tomorrow, but we really need to find out who's getting that 4th place spot first, and it's not going to be w7m if Loban has anything to say about it. I thought he played so well just inside of Terrace. Cons walked in on the Monty. He procced the Elamine, and so it felt like this was going to be Loban just getting forced out. Like the Monty was in his face, the Monty didn't die, and so Loban was going to have to retreat. But the Monty just leaves. It ends up being a retreat called out by Cons, and it ends up opening the gap for Loban to step up and really exploit the positioning on NIP in that round. If there's anybody who's not going to be afraid to get aggressive, if there's anybody who's going to take a risk when you're down 6-4 and that point for your opponents, it's going to be Loban. I often say this man evolved without the gene to fear things. He's just got no fear at all when he plays a game of Rainbow Six Siege, and that's coming in absolutely critical importance for w7m.
A day with destiny these two teams now will have. w7m hoping to God and country that they can go to overtime, secure a 2-0 victory, and then wait maybe half an hour, maybe an hour until they face off against FaZe Clan. Furia in action tomorrow. The grand final will be the only match that's played tomorrow here in the South America League. You and I won't be casting it, but I do intend to watch it. I'd like to see which of these teams is able to rise up against Furia. We will know which team it is in about 4 or 5 hours time. Yes, I know, I think that seems quite crazy for people, but hey, this is the last league. This is the last set of online matches before we set our sights on the Munich Major next month. A great start for NiP. They get dots running. This was an all-out assault by NiP. They trade it right back, though. Hate's got the kill. Dodez will take him down, and now he spies the Monty of Cons, who was hoping to get inside the building, but instead will go on to drone.
My eyes are peeked up a little bit by Wizard. He's the only player not part of this core just outside the office breach, and if he fights anybody, it'll be Volps early. He's actually making rotate.
Hive deployed.
NiP now with the advantage after Loban's gone down. Diffuser being planted by Cons. Where is the Nitro cell to be tossed out? Palu taking damage. Cons as well being picked apart at, but he manages to get the job done. Not before Dodez shuts him down. But the timer will now run against this team. NiP lose Wizard. Another swing is here for Dodez. Palu living on borrowed time. Very little that he can do from an offensive standpoint. Volps hops on the diffuser. NiP swept through. w7m pushed to overtime off the back of a 4K by Dodez. At least 2 more rounds, and w7m might get the job done in extra innings again. Goodness gracious. I love the matches that we saw yesterday. Whether it was w7m Liquid, whether it was that Los NiP game, they were terrific. If what we're witnessing here is any indication, we've got a good day of Siege ahead of us. We're already in the midst of a good day of Siege. w7m will defend first on Skyscraper. This is territory that they know well. They just spent 6 rounds defending against this NiP team. No decided advantage, though, for attackers or defenders. 3 rounds won by the attackers on both sides. Same with the defenders. On bank, w7m won the very first round of overtime by attacking and then managed to shore it up and win the map with a successful defense. Upstairs, here on Skyscraper, they will go upstairs first to defend. This karaoke and tea room bomb site has been won 50-50 by w7m. They lost their first defense. Actually, no. They lost their 2 first defenses to Ninjas in Pyjamas on this second half. They only managed to prevail in round number 11. Their 3rd attempt was successful. They did look a lot better. Loban got a 3K, if you recall. They have to learn from that most previous round. If they can prevail here, not only do they move to series point, but they'll go 50-50 on that bomb site.
They need Loban to heat up once again, I fear. I mean, if they do challenge on the roam game, which is what NIP have been doing pretty consistently on this bomb site, then you have to find a way in. You have to be able to challenge them in those moments. Instead, it's going to be pressure on the site. Wizard finds a vert angle onto Volps just through the window. The bottom of Black Stairs, a critical pick, because that's going to be all of the Toxic Babes removed before this execute really comes to blows. It really opens the door, too. You can see Cons repositioning, can walk up these Black Stairs, can have the moment to make that space and go for an eventual plant deep inside of karaoke. This is a big problem. And Dodes is trying to be a hero, but he doesn't hit the shots.
So close at an unlucky time to go into a deficit, but alas, that's just how it goes sometimes. An impressive performance by w7m to tie things up. They will go for a swing and they take out what might be the highest target on the side of NIP, which is Fantasy. Doesn't come without its cost. Loban losing a lot of his HP, almost all of it in the process. Logic bombs immediately sent out by Hates. Cons walking the diffuser and taking a lot of damage. Now Pino is in the ground as well. Things going bad for NIP very quickly. Hunting for a kill as they turn on over. w7m trading out. That benefits them. They have the advantage. Now Cons, with little HP, has the shield down, pistol out, baiting these w7m players into an engagement. He needs to walk that diffuser in to Hates sitting inside of the B bomb site. Shotgun lined up. This is, despite what it looks like, a good position for NIP. They try to bait out the defenders. They won't find anything. Long drawn out action here as now Hates walks up. w7m still with 3 players, none of them moving a muscle. They'll try again on the side of NIP to get this diffuser down. Hates turning over. Cons off the defuse kit once more. Dots getting their attention. Now the Blitz compelled to action. Baited into a kill. Hates last man standing. w7m shut him down. Another great round by Loban. And it's match point for the Bulls.
They needed him to come alive, Parker, and he did just that. The resilience that this team has shown across both maps as well as their play yesterday has been ridiculous. Big moves coming out from w7m, and you look at that plan from NIP, it really felt like they had the sauce. Cons was in the site, so was Hates. I felt like Cons probably could have finished the plant the first time that he went for it. He was under the cover of smoke. I wasn't noticing anybody on the side of w7m making moves, tossing any util. They didn't really have utility left to try to stop that plant, but I think just getting a little bit scared, expecting the movements as they didn't really come out. Really good patience from w7m. That's the key factor that helps them win that round and push them to series point.
At worst, you've got 2 more rounds. So still time for them to stick the landing, so to speak. Again, defenders and attackers, even up until that round that just transpired with w7m winning their very first round of overtime, the defenders have now won 7 rounds compared to the 6 won by the attackers, almost perfectly mirroring the score that you see at the top of your screen. But 3 of NIP's successful rounds came on attack, 3 obviously on defense. So not really much we can speculate here. Another upstairs defense. NIP going to the same bomb site that w7m just played. NIP were successful on this site the very first round that they played here on Skyscraper. Admittedly, NIP could have played anywhere. They probably could have played over on Bedroom side and still won with the way that they played those first 3 rounds. They were unsuccessful in their next 2 defenses. On rounds 4 and 6, w7m were able to take this bomb site away. I don't love that for NIP.
Yeah, the story of the first half was undoubtedly about the hard breach Parker, and again, Paulu's going to jump right back on the Thermite. He opened the VIP wall extremely early. He's still got that exothermic charge in pocket if he wants to go for a Geisha. There'll be plenty opportunity to make this breach work, and there's not really anything NIP can do about it. Even the tools they do have, not all being deployed. Pino with a mute jammer in his pocket. I imagine that's to stop a Dokkaebi call in case one does come out. Deimos Tracker as well can be stopped by those mute jammers if he places it at his feet. So I don't think it's a mistake that he's still carrying it with him, but it won't be effective just given the attacking lineup that w7m have brought.
A nade used to potentially force Hates out of his position on drum. Everything's a drum. And Hates assesses that doorway now, littered with flames from the Goyo canister. Nip buying time as we hit the halfway point of this round. This is a must-win for Nip, Jesse. If they lose, that's the series. w7m will go out 2-0, and they will do battle with FaZe Clan in the lower bracket final later today. How late? We're not sure, because there is supposed to be a break between these two matches, but it depends on whether the teams want it. I think the real one is whether the winner wants it. If w7m or Nip turn around and say, hey, we feel warmed up, let's play, away we go. We'll update you when we have information. Likely it will be the desk. But a very slow round. No way to tell which of these two teams will come out ahead in this very pivotal moment.
We're setting up to try to go for a push straight in through the door at the top of the back stairs. Dodes gets the first kill. He finds Cons on the smoke. That's a critical one, and Hates falls too. It's all falling apart, Parker. Somebody's got to step up and be a hero.
Nitro Cell goes out. Fantasy attempting his best. It's him and Pino. Down he goes. Pino in a 1v3. Fallen by the wayside. Ninjas in Pyjamas watching as their first place in the group stages has amounted to very little in the playoffs. w7m desperately wanting a matchup against FaZe Clan. Pino will need to play this one well as the two players from w7m have walked away. A choice battle against the Blackbeard. A standoff in the bomb site. Pino waiting him out. Can't wait too long. The time will continue to work against him. All Dots needs to do is be that focal point. Force Pino to not engage with Dodes, but Dodes will get the job done. w7m will get the job done. And in a tense 2-0 that almost went the distance in both maps, w7m will face off against FaZe Clan in our next match.